5 things you can do when you're over 40, when you're just sitting around hanging with friends, just sitting in a chair watching TV or whatever. And these are critical because remember, you don't die young, you age more quickly. And that's what we're trying to avoid when we enter our 40s, 50s, 60s, 70s. And as always, you youngins, this is still relevant for you. You should be strengthening your foot and your ankle. And when you're sitting in a chair, you should be splaying out your toes. That prevents the muscles from atrophying inside your foot. These muscles shorten, they atrophy, that bone's out of whack. That's how bunions form. Plantar fasciitis can be a weakening of muscles. There's a lot of things that you experience in life that are weakening of muscles, and you can either bring yourself back from that or you can prevent it. So footwork is really critical, and strengthening all of that musculature within your foot is critical. So splay out those toes, crunch them together, bring them back, flex your ankle, bring your ankle forward. You should be doing this multiple times throughout the day. So anytime you're sitting, you can do that. Now, if you're splaying out your toes and you have shoes on, that's going to be harder, though you could try to push your big toe up against the wall of your sneaker or shoe. That can work. But in the end, really just having a sock on to add some resistance, or in particular, being in bare feet and being able to see yourself do it and all is really critical. The second thing you could do would be Kegel exercises. And honestly, you should be doing that. These are muscles that can atrophy. You basically want to act as if you're contracting your muscles so that you're lifting your genitalia in that way. And so it's not contracting your glutes or anything like that. It's really working on those muscles connected to your genitalia. Why is that important? Go down the child section. There'll also be the adult depends section. And what happens over time is you lose muscles atrophy in those areas. That can produce things like incontinence. That can make you, much younger age, need adult diapers. No shame in that, but it's something that may be preventable just by not letting those muscles atrophy. And so Kegel exercises, look it up online. This is a way to strengthen those internal muscles. And that really is critical for life satisfaction. I know 80-year-olds who they won't go anywhere because they're afraid that, they're going to be incontinent in some way. And that decreases their ability. That decreases life satisfaction. That can happen even in your 70s or in your 60s. So even your 50s. But, again, you're trying to postpone any effects of aging. Aging really comes down to muscular atrophy in many of the most significant ways. And so all of that is preventable. Okay, number 3 is work on breath work, which is taking a deep breath. And then at the end of that breath, add another little at the end of it. And that just produces a full expansion of your lungs. Again, these are muscles in part, and it gets to the deepest wells of your lungs and keeps that active. And then as you breathe out fully. And then at the end of that, when you think you can't do any more, you do a little puff, and that gets the external or the extra air out. So these are just breathing exercises that are enormously beneficial, and just something you can do quietly in a chair or even in a room full of people. Number 4 is more of a mental centeredness thing you can do, which is pain is not optional, but suffering is. And so if you have a toothache and it's an exposed nerve to the air, that's incredibly painful. And, you're going to need treatment for that. There's no real mind over matter with that kind of stuff per se. But suffering, emotional suffering, that is the result of what's called over-identification. So while you're sitting somewhere and your thoughts are just churning over, you can spot, it's not that you don't over-identify. That's just automatic. Over-identification is defined as a global statement leading to shame, judgment, and immobilization. And you can spot when your brain is just doing that and switch to identification, which is truth-based statements leading to compassion and motivation. So whereas over-identification immobilizes you, demotivates you, identification provides compassion and motivation. Over-identification would be like, God, what's wrong with you? You're such a loser. They're really harsh, negative statements. For you who are also watching this, who happen to be coaches or teachers, the number one thing people complain about is their coach when I meet with athletes. And really, their complaints, they don't use this verbiage, but their complaints come down to their coach uses a lot of shame-based language instead of a lot of truth-based language. So if you're a coach or a teacher or a mentor or a parent, stop it. It's really harmful. All change happens within a relationship, so you're dismantling the relationship, and it's really about truth. I don't want you lying to people, and I don't want you just, oh, everything's okay when it's not. We deliver truth like, hey, that was pretty rough what we saw. I think I have some ways that I can help you. Hey, I saw you did it this way. Did you ever think about doing it this way? You're giving truth. It's just not shaming. And so that's important. So you can catch yourself using shame-based language. You can catch yourself over-identifying. What's wrong with me? Why am I so lazy today? I don't feel like doing anything today. Right? All of that. Catch that. Switch to truth-based language. I don't feel like doing anything today. I have 2 priorities I have to do. What do I need to do to make steps towards doing that priority? Right? That's truth. I don't feel like doing it, but what steps can I take to get there? Right? That's truth. That's motivating. That's compassion. Number 5, the last thing you can do just sitting somewhere we talk a lot about mindfulness, but mindfulness really is just activation of your midbrain, which when your midbrain is activated, you're in a stronger performance position versus just being lost in your thoughts and worrying and all that. And performers are midbrain dominant during the performance. So what can you do? Number 5 is you can see details. When you see details, then you're immersed. When you're seeing this kind of vague panorama without really tight details, then you're thinking. If you're in a ball sport, you're seeing the details of the ball, the field, the players around you. You're seeing details. That's when you're in flow. That's when you're in a performance position. That's when you're not just having thoughts bombard you. As soon as you lose details, you're still seeing things, but they're not popping with details. Then you lost immersion. You lost mindfulness. You lost midbrain dominant activation. And so you get in the habit of that. I've acquired that skill over time. There was a time when I was probably 20% immersed in a moment in flow, and at up to 50 and 80 and 90. I would say at this point, I'm pretty damn good at it where I'm immersed in the moment. I'm not lost in thoughts and worry and all this stuff. Even under high stress times or when just life is a shit show, I'm still about 95% immersed in the moment. That's pretty good, and that took effort, right? That took practice. So I'm not bragging and blah, blah, blah. It came from effort. I once did a presentation at a college with a Buddhist Geshe. That's like the number 2 guy to the Dalai Lama. It's pretty cool. He was probably 99.9% immersed in the moment. There was only one moment where I saw him break for even just a split second. I saw him kind of manifest. He lost focus for a second. And immediately, as I saw that, he immediately, in the middle of this presentation of an audience of many people, he and I up on a stage, he just closed his eyes, he breathed in, and when he breathed out, he was back fully immersed. You could see it in his body position. And he didn't break again the entire hour. So for an entire hour, he literally was immersed in the moment. I would speculate 99.99% of that hour, minus 1 second, which he immediately caught. So the idea is to catch yourself when you're not seeing details, get back to details, and that is immersion. When you immerse more, you burn less fuel. You literally need less sleep. There's good research on that. You get more done. You're more productive. And yeah, we call that mindfulness, but really at the end of the day, that is midbrain dominant. You're not using a lot of parts of your brain unnecessarily. You're not wasting energy. You're not getting distracted. You're not only working, but you're being productive, and your productivity skyrockets. So these are all things that you should be practicing. You must be practicing, especially as you advance in age, above your 40s, 50s, 60s. And you can do it just sitting, hanging out, watching the game with some buddies. You could do it anytime at a dinner table, whatever. And trust me, the benefits of these 5 things are enormous. You know me, I'm always going to go for what are the practices that produce the highest impact. I don't mess around with low bar, the low impact practices. Yeah, I always say, yeah, I get it that drinking apple cider vinegar can induce some health benefits, but that is minuscule versus the things of highest impact. These are 5 things of exceedingly high impact, and you could do them anytime, anywhere. Huge gains. So keep watching, like this stuff on YouTube, follow me, reach out. I'm always here to help. And trust me, this is about living your best life, and it's within your reach. You just have to know what practices to employ to get there. That's what this channel is all about. So, as I like to say, go break some shit. Let's get it done, folks.